Hello there. Welcome to the first review of any show on the channel. This, of course, is for ANDOR Season 2, Chapter 1. Today we're going to be talking about, is it worth, I think it's like $400 million. This episode alone, I think, cost more than the whole entirety of the Kenobi show. I think I saw a theory say. So just talking about the beats of the show, my feelings on it, a great discussion and launching point before we go through the entire series. And I think Star Wars, the implications of making shows at this level versus Star Wars as a whole, does it fit into the whole universe? So to start things off, we get a nice shot of a TIE fighter in this pristine Imperial facility. And I've got to say, that TIE fighter looked phenomenal. I think it was a Hunter variant or something. All I know is that my wife was sitting there and she said that would make a good Lego. Now, she is not into Lego or any of this stuff. First time she's seen Andor. And I thought, my God, you're right. That would make a great Lego. I've got to say, off the bat, the visuals, the aesthetic was definitely crisp. It was on point. And when Cassian does his whole subterfuge thing, and we'll come back to the technician that helps him out later, I also really loved getting inside that TIE fighter. The setup was so 80s anime, the way he put his arm through the thing. You remember like the Japanimes, the Japanimation? There we go. Shows where they would do like mech warriors and stuff, and it would have setups similar. I loved the entire TIE, just the whole scenario in itself, the cockpit. And I've never been a ship guy before, so that says a lot. Also, the crispness of the sound, the way that the green lasers fired, and then obviously the bigger lasers, and how he went 1v1. Well, first off, he mowed down some of the stormtroopers, but then they, with their, E11 blasters, they always fire at the TIE fighter. The TIE fighter gets away. The fact that they bring out the big rockets, instead of the normal E-Web turret, I love that there was a rocket guy and he got blitzed as well. That was a great opener, and it showcased great aesthetics, great visuals. I was pulled in at that point. And do I love the whole people can't fly the ship for a minute and then they bang it around, then they get out? They always seem to go for ravines as well with all this. I know that it gives you more coverage and whatnot, but it's always beggars can't. Like, they're always doing the run, their own version of a trench run. I'm not sure, but he was almost pod racing at that point. He went that low, but I digress. It seems to be a Star Wars trope in and of itself. Then we smash cut to Bix with a creepy thin man nightmares of torture and what's going to happen. I'm sure that they're going to escalate. We're going to see more. There's been a lot of rumors that underhanded things happened. The dude looked like a bug-eyed alien and almost CGI. The creepiest thin man with a slicked hair since Crispin Glover in Charlie's Angels. What a reference if you're not a millennial or Gen Z. Anyway, Chandrilla, the planets looked gorgeous. I think the money's been dumped into these sets or the CGI. I appreciated the alien mountains and the feel. And I didn't really love the aesthetic or the costumes as much. I feel like the royalty, the costumes look a bit weird. My wife, again, said, these look like the robes from the movie Divergent. And I went, great. So they look like another franchise. Like, usually Star Wars looks like, so Star Wars, nothing else looks like it. Everybody says, oh, this is Star Wars inspired, not the other way around. I'm not sure. Maybe I haven't seen enough high upper class attire. I think only to the opera scene in the prequels, but it didn't really pull me out as much as these ones look almost Japanese. They're all robes. I do get it, and there would be a plethora of attire across the galaxy, but I don't know. Something just pulls me out. It's like I don't 100% believe it's authentic. Something in that costume department has me questioning things, if that makes sense. Maybe you don't feel the same way. I do like the tension Mothma feels, Mon. She's getting called all these pet names, around the pompous elites and the parties she has to hold. And I appreciate the build before the fall with Cassian's line about everybody getting fat, the Empire getting fat and our watch being true, but so are just the regular politicians in high society as well. And you can feel there's tension building across all areas. Something's got to give, and it's usually the lower class. Like it's going to collapse on them to raise up these people. Skarsgård is the effete. I don't know, just the way he waltzes around his little dance, Luthen. He's a bright spot in the series. That guy can act rings around people, and it shows. This is what you get for your money, Disney. Put the big hitters in. Don't just throw these side characters in because they're crazy. Now, speaking of which, when Biggs tried to school her friend working on that stupid sprinkler, I internally groaned. I thought, oh great, there's another contrived side character with a relationship developing story stifled by tired class issue tropes. Do I care about any of them? No, because they're not Luthen. You know, you need to have a really deft hand at writing these things. James Gunn can write a romance, or he can make you fall in love with a raccoon and his little pet friends in 30 seconds of them in a cage. He uses humanity. These people, it feels like a mask of humanity. You know where it's going. It's so contrived. You're just like, oh, he's in love with her, but her family won't let her be in love with him because they're higher class. Just work hard and you're a good person, even if you are scum to them, you know, and you just, it's like they're saying the words, but you don't feel the gravity of it. And I didn't love when they cut, because there's a lot of chopping and changing, by the way, if you can't tell. It's like scene. When they cut to Andor landing the ship then and being captured when dropping it off. And you just hear it was like the Disney version of comedy. We're surrounding him. Don't tell him we're surrounding him with 15 people. And then, you know, Cassian's like, what's going on? I'm a professional here. I felt that was a little bit played out. I know that what they were going for. Then we cut to Krennic. Another bright spot, Ben Mendelsohn, phenomenal actor. The only problem I had, and I loved, but I'll talk about what he was speaking on in this scene. Krennic is like a wannabe Imperial. And so Ben Mendelsohn originally in Rogue One was he tried to use an affected British accent to sound more like an Imperial. And the director said, Garth, whatever his name, said, don't do that. You sound better as an Australian. And I think so, because Australians sound like we're a convict British. We're not good enough to be British. We're wannabes. And that's what Krennic is, a wannabe. So when I heard him use more of a British inflection, I got upset. I was like, oh, it's just like Sir Ben, Kingsley, who played the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, and he had one British accent. And then when he came back for, what was the one with Simu Liu? The 10 Rings, he used a Liverpool accent. Anyway, switching accents doesn't jive with me. I'm an accent junkie. I just, hits the ear wrong. Now, obviously Krennic wants resources from Gorman to help with building the Death Star. Very pragmatic. If you're a lore junkie, spoilers, we all know that bad things happen at Gorman and they're trying to foment rebellion or really just brainstorm ideas about how to get the resources they want. Do they crush the opposition like Krennic wants? And some of the other ISB members are like, we can't do that. They're not on board. There's still this idea before the Battle of Yavin, like the systems are kind of a little more autonomous. You can't just go with an iron fist because they don't have the Death Star yet, I guess. So that's pretty cool. But every time I heard the word Gorman, I was like, massacre, massacre, massacre. And when they bring in the Ministry of Enlightenment, I realized this show's so mired in politics. It's something that people shit on for George for the prequels endlessly, but that is it's the cornerstone of Andor. It's just politics. We've got high class parties where, I'm vying for power. I don't like what you've done. I've got to keep my status. Then we've got the ISB, the imps being like, I'm in charge. Or are you? I've got a better idea. Like, they are doing a talkie and it's so heavily apparent. I'm not against it, but it's not as action-packed as I want. And I'm hoping there's going to be a ramp up as this series has gone. As I said, I watched episode 1 so I don't tarnish my view of what's to come, so that in episode 2 and 3, when things do escalate, the tension starts to pay off, the storylines do, you get to see it in real time. So don't take my word as gospel that this whole series is boring and political. It's just, there's a lot of exposition. They're setting things up. They even had a freaking in-universe video play of the Gorman spiders, and it was like one that your teacher rolled in for school from the the 1960s, info heavy, whatever they called them. And I was like, really? Anyway, I'll cycle back to the start. Excuse me. What I saw in the first scene was a beautiful TIE fighter, and then the Imperial technician walked in, and she was, I don't even know how to say this. I'm not trying to put it down, but she was a heavier woman than what I would expect from an Imperial, number one. But number two, she was of African descent, I assume. She was dark, minority, whatever. Who cares? I was amazed. The first thing I saw was that, and the first thing that popped into my head was John Boyega had just been screaming that Star Wars doesn't do minorities at all. Like they pepper them in, sprinkle them like choc chips in a cupcake, but the entire rebellion was very diverse, and it wasn't just black, white, or anything. Like, it was really diverse. So that was nice. Like, it just, I know Disney has quotas and people do meme it and whatever, but I'm getting to a point that it didn't rip me out of the show. But what did rip me out of the show was two things. Well, first was that, like I said, she was thicker. And the only reason why I say that is because the thing that sprung into my mind when I first saw her is, I wonder if the Empire wouldn't be bigoted against race whatsoever. Who cares? Like, aliens they are xenophobic against, but like Thrawn was an anomaly. But like a calorie, what do they call them? Calorie surplus people or whatever. Wouldn't the Empire be like, we're not making uniforms for you, you're using too many resources, you're inefficient, you're sloppy? Like, I thought that they would be the most bigoted people against bigger people ever. Tell me I'm wrong. Like, that's just how I see the Empire. They're all about uniform people and just uniforms being uniform, and everybody looks the same and homogenous, and that's it. So I found it amazing even a technician would come in like that. But that was my first thought. Which is, it's so on brand, yet it seems so out of pocket, but it's not really, I don't think. The second one was, everybody was diverse and mixed, but the ISB, the bad guys, were all white dudes, except for one white lady. But like, it was the clearest white, like, it was such a statement about what evil looks like to Disney. Even though Bob Iger, I think of Bob Iger sitting if Bob Iger was in one of those uniforms sitting in that room, you wouldn't blink. Like, the fact that they always have the same, more affluent people who are running things are bad at Disney, but they are the more affluent people. It's always a head scratcher, and it always just ripped me out for a second. And I thought, this is telling. Whoever that second in command is, though, the older guy that's with Krennic, he's a great actor too. You really feel like some people are just set pieces in this series, and others are phenomenal actors and actresses. And you just, Mon Mothma, wasn't she the same person that played Mon Mothma in the prequels for 2 seconds, as just because she looked like the original actress, and now she's crushing it? Like, that's pretty wild. Anyway, we get back to Cassian, and obviously he drops off the TIE fighter for his friend, finds a gang of rebels, they're incompetent, and they've killed his mate, so now he's stuck with them trying to get out, and they can't figure out the awesome anime TIE fighter controls. That blundering scene, I kind of like the build-up of they're waiting for, was it Maya, their leader, and they were leaderless and they got in a tiff, but there was too much comedy going on. It was a little bit of a clusterfuck. But again, I'm waiting for the payoff. So this whole episode felt like exposition, gorgeous scenery, gorgeous set design. Love the TIE fighter, love the controls. I liked Cassian's, like, his outfit as the TIE fighter pilot. Like, there was so many good visual things. The writing and the pacing was choppy, but it wasn't too choppy. I didn't mind the jumps, but it was more, it just felt like they were set. This is a setup and that's it. And you kind of are forced on rails to sit through it. I think they thought they would get away with it better by having a smash cut into an Imperial facility and breakout. But we've seen that so many times that just, I knew, it's like, well, Cassie nearly slid off the cliff. Is he going to make it? You know, when they make movies so well, they make cinema so well that you still, even though you know he survives, the stakes are high. Like every single time you watch the film, your stomach's in your mouth a little bit. Oh, I punched my desk. See, I get excited. You get physical. I didn't feel that so much happened. I just waited for him to get out of the situation. And the setups themselves, the only thing that I think I can say that really impresses me about this is the fact that we're going to come back and we're going to see Krennic more. We're going to see Luthen more and Mon Mothma. And hopefully Andor gets the hell away from those idiot rebels and we actually get to the meat and potatoes of the series. But that's my take on the first episode. Let me know how you felt in the comments below. It's a bit of a long, drawn-out one. Let me know if you want me to talk about the inner workings of everything, of the mind. You know, if I start to just go on a tangent about can Imperials be on the larger side and things like that, or, you know, we keep it tight into just the storyline. Because if you love Star Wars and talking about it, I want to talk to you about it. It's as simple as that.